What's the greeting? Whoa!
Hey, you like that?
That's pretty cool.
It's all about timing.
That's wild. Yeah, that you timed it just right too.
Finally,
Perfect.
because you
go.
kind of screwed with the intro too. It was like a different than I usually, anticipate it. So there was some skill involved. It was definitely. I've been practicing. I guess
There's some green room thing where I can see you too, so it's kind of funny. I can see you prepping to get ready for all this stuff. And so every time I see you like doing something, I'm like, okay, what is he going to do this time?
It's funny. My old show, we used to, it was like a round table type show, kind of like this, but with a few other guys. And sometimes I would just be in a weird place. One time I was actually standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona. Underneath that sign, I was hoping people would get the joke. They didn't. Another time in the pool, but like for the intro, I'd pop up out of the water. And like I was always trying to do something a little out there, but I kind of like the wheelie chair thing that I'm doing. I feel like this is my thing. I feel like I've arrived.
It's cool. It's like you're busy doing something else and you got to wheel over to make some time to talk to the people. But it's kind of accurate because we're always super busy with different stuff. So, but we're so happy to make time to talk about this stuff with our wonderful audience.
It's so true. So welcome back,
Some of which is here. Welcome.
Greetings.
So I guess I should do an intro because every time we have some people that are like, where's the UFO stuff? This ain't UFOs. And you're right. This show is not centered around UFOs. It's centered around what my buddy Doug Smythe here is reading. And he reads a lot of stuff about the esoteric. Oh, there's the Arctic Club. That's a very nice cup. I have to do my sippy cup, which is balanced heavy here because otherwise, and it's got the little sippy. Because I'm a bad boy. I spill coffee, so I have to use a sippy cup now.
Yeah, fair enough. But anyway,
that's what we talk about. Of course, my industry is I do UFOs and mortgages. So, of course, I run Open Minds TV, but I also am doing mortgages. Give me a call, especially if you're in Colorado or Arizona, or you need any mortgage help. And then Doug runs a shaving company. And so that's what he's always busy
with. As I have a beard.
Those things come up. But, Doug's also very interested in UFOs and stuff. In fact, he's helped me a couple times on my Friday Open Mind UFO radio podcast. He's joined that. So, and what have you been up to this week, Douglas?
I left the house for the first time in like 6 months.
Really?
No, not really. But was kind of really. I've only been leaving to go to work, to the shop and back. But I went out there. It wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. Actually, it's kind of cool because I think partially the reason might have been slight anxiety over wearing a mask and social distancing and stuff like that at the supermarket. Like it's just a strange thing to walk into for the first time. So other people have gotten used to that now. So I can walk in there and they're already used to it. They're not going to look at me like I'm a weirdo now, as I may have felt with the mask I was using in particular. But yeah, so everyone else has adjusted to it. So now it's time for me to leave. And I had to go shopping. I went to Whole Foods and
that's funny. Here's what I pictured for some reason. I pictured your cool green Jeep, you and Fran going to the Jeep and kind of tiptoeing out and looking around. And you starting to cry, and you're like, "I'm scared." And Fran okay, fine,
hold me
back into the house.
Yeah. Okay, that's kind of how it really went down. No, Fran wasn't involved. This was a solo mission. Because we kind of drew straws when everything went down. Like, okay, who's going to be the hunter? And so Fran, she drew the shortest straw, and so that's how it played out. So she's the one who goes shopping. So there's less exposure. We figure, less impact on both of us.
Smart.
So we're trying to do it intelligently. But I needed to go out there and see the world and see what was going on. And
I've been going and venturing out into the world the whole time. Not like a lot, but to grocery shop and stuff. Of course, I'm very careful. I wear my mask and everything. People have seen my masks. I think I've got my pictures on social media mostly have me wearing my mask. But yeah, it's been weird. It's not weird like it is now. But if you would have went out before shopping when there was no toilet paper and stuff, it felt very post-apocalyptic.
Yes.
Or where there wasn't. One time I flew, and I know people might be like, what do you do? Why'd you float? But I was very careful, washing my hands a lot and mask. But what happened was, I'm living in California. Karen's here in Arizona, and we're just kind of going back and forth. And because of the pandemic, our separation has been prolonged. So now we're trying to stay together when we go back and forth.
Oh,
and
don't say separation though. Separation just makes it sound.
No.
Right, yeah.
People did think that too. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you guys broke up," and it's like, no, we're doing this together. So we try to stay together, I should say. And so when I went out to California, at the beginning of the year, probably late last year, it was beginning of the year, and the pandemic went down, and everything had to shut down. And of course, I was job hunting, so I got totally screwed by this pandemic. So I decided it's total lockdown. Nobody's doing anything. It's a ghost town. I'm going to fly back and leave my car in California because usually I drive. Like I did just last night. Actually, I drove back from California.
I know. We almost missed today's show because of this.
It was a secret mission too, by the way. It's something really exciting. So I won't say,
I hope
but super exciting. But the airports, when I flew from San Diego to Phoenix, and then I stayed here, and we were in the house, just like you guys, locked down for months. Yeah. Just me and Karen and her daughter, and Pumpkin the dog, who's asleep over here. But it was so weird. I posted some pictures and videos on my social media, but just nothing. I mean, in the airports, only a couple people on the planes. I mean, it was totally like an apocalypse. And I felt so weird. And I'm over here with my mask. I think I had a scarf too. And I'm just kind of like, but there was nobody. I mean, I went and sat all by myself in these chairs. And I think there were only 5 people on the plane as far as passengers. So, and the airport was like, there was nobody. I mean, I could have gone and stole all kinds of stuff or something. There's just like nobody. It was really weird. I guess.
It's bizarre. Even driving around out there, I've filled my tank probably 5 times since this whole thing began, maybe less. I mean, I just haven't been doing anything, and it's kind of cool. But yeah, you're right. When everything was first shut down, it was weird. Like I was really focusing on my bug out closet, with all my pantry stuff, just to have me, survive for at least a year without any outside help or influence. And it's amazing how your priorities shift so fast. Yeah. But then it was like after a month, it was like,
yeah.
We got toilet paper and rice again.
I know you've been going out and kayaking, and what's nice about California though is in Arizona where you feel you were just trapped in the house. At least in California, within walking distance, there's a lot more outdoor activities and outdoor stuff you can do, like even hanging out at the beach, like we did this week when there's nobody around, in the afternoons. And right now there's not many people. The vacationers have kind of left, so it's nice just to be on your own and to enjoy nature, because that for me is really fulfilling and really stress relieving for me.
Yeah, no,
you too, probably.
I wish we had more to do out there, but yeah, I mean, I go for a hike every day in the desert. A few miles, but
when do you go? Super early because it's so freaking hot.
No, honestly, I go around like 8:30, 9 o'clock because I have this whole morning regimen. I do yoga, I do pranayama, I do all types of stuff before I even get out the door, before I take a shower, and then so I'm usually out there around 9:30, and by that time it's 100 degrees. So yeah, I'm hiking in the desert because I'm a jackass. And that was the same thing in Central America. I used to be on the beach at noon, and the locals would just walk by shaking their heads or run by shaking their heads, and then later on they'd be like, "You're the only person we know that goes out into the sun at noon." Like, so yeah, I'm a jackass.
You're like,
I really am. I walk into danger. I stumble into it.
So I guess we should acknowledge some of our friends who are here already talking away in the chat, and then get to the topic of what the show is about at some point. And of course, I'm going to plug the International UFO Congress quite a bit because that's what Karen and I are working on. That starts in a week. So if you haven't registered, go to ufocongress.com and register. It's going to be a lot of fun, lots of fun talks. I'm going to be doing a lot of interviewing of some of the guests and hosting some panels. And so it'll be a lot of fun. So that's what we're up to.
I'll be in the shops. So find me, folks, too. I'll be hanging out around my table.
So we'll see.
Oh, you know what?
Rodrigo says hi.
Hey, what's up, Rodrigo? You guys, everyone in the gallery over here, please, after this is posted on YouTube, make some comments because we get the weirdest comments. We get like this Asian, I'm pretty sure it's a porn star that seems to love our videos.
Oh,
She's always commenting. Yeah. And then I get this
whole
other
group
guy.
of them.
We got this other guy when I was on your podcast last week that was commenting, that statement I made about how I sympathize with the government for, having to keep UFO stuff on the hush and whatnot. Remember how we talked about that for a hot minute and I was saying I sympathize with them? Well, I kind of want to some guy went off on me like, I don't believe you said that, yada, yada. And it's like, you just don't get where I'm coming from or where the government's coming from.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you, by the way, and come at me if you want, dude.
Yeah. I just wanted to be a little more clear. Like, back in the day when Timothy Leary was experimenting with acid and, running his tests on it and so on and so forth, he gave it to everybody back then and wanted to know their opinion on it. And I would say everyone, I mean, more celebrities or people that he respected. One of them was Ginsburg. Another one was Aldous Huxley. Now, he gave it to Aldous Huxley, dosed him, watched him, and after the fact, he's like, well, "What'd you think?" And Aldous Huxley gave us, wrote down his experience, how he felt about that, and then Larry said, "I want to turn on the entire world. I want to pass this out to everybody." And Huxley said, "No, you cannot give this to everybody. Not everyone is able to handle this. Not everyone will handle this. It won't have a positive effect on everybody." And then shortly after that, he gave it to Ginsburg, and Ginsburg said, "Give it to everybody. The world needs this." And that's my comparison to the whole UFO thing on Slow Drip, and why I think that is actually an effective measure when it comes to releasing this information. Because for the same reasons, not everyone can handle it, though you can handle it and think, the government's keeping it from you because you can handle it. That's cool and that's great. But remember, it's not all you. There are lots of people out there running on different circuitry, if you will, and they won't. They will have a breakdown and things could get weird, violent, or whatever. I understand the government's concern over this is what I was trying to say, and I probably didn't express it so clearly then, but that's what I was saying. If you're watching again, Mr. whatever your name was, was that understood?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
But see, my concern, and this is, I think, this is where we as a UFO community, those people interested, need to get a little smarter around this too. And that's kind of my goal right now and what I'm doing. So for instance, I just posted a video of John Alexander, a colonel, a former inspector general in the Army. Inspector generals are the guys who know all the rules because they're the cops. They're the referee. They got to make sure everybody's following the rules. And that's rare. So he has a rare insight into the inner workings of what are the motivations of the different agencies. He worked in intelligence. And so this is all the big problem is that there are instances, we've got to decide as an intelligence, military intelligence, do we want the Chinese to think that those are ours?
Right. We spoke about this.
We really don't want them to know how far our technology goes, nor do we want them to know how much we know about their tech. And so that's where it becomes really, really sticky. And so when it comes to what information to put out, I think that, and even wanting information to come out, we've all got to be really smart about how we advocate for that. Yes. I've heard, and I need to find this reference, that NASA said they'll only do some scientific investigations into these unidentifieds if it's completely transparent. And I think, when it comes to science, that is the way it's done. Even if you look at the Condon report with Project Blue Book, all of that science was put out there. And even though Dr. Condon said, oh, there's not anything to be gained here, and, that was his conclusion, most people said he didn't even read the report. Even astronomy groups were saying, if you read the report, that's not the conclusion that's come to at all. The conclusion is there's something going on, that there's a genuine mystery here. So, I think that especially as people who are interested in this, like me, I'm interested in the scientific understandings and investigation, that we're going to have to advocate for that, because all of what we're looking at now is, the military is interested in threats related to UAPs. What have we been blind to because of this taboo around the topic? And that's mostly drones and drone stuff, this sort of thing. If we don't want them only to focus on drones and tell us about drones, which is where we're headed, then we really are going to have to advocate, okay, guys, you also find unidentifieds. we want to know what you're doing there, because just as recently as yesterday, I think it was, one of the press people essentially said that's classified. Essentially, we're not planning on letting you guys know what we discover about unidentifieds. Well, that's counter to what, the public is kind of being sold, or at least what they believe is going to happen. So we've got to, that's why we've got to be smart about this and how we go about trying to pry out this information.
Exactly. And that's what I was trying to get at last week. And this guy just totally took it the wrong way. That's
what people are going to do, though. Even the way I put it just now, there's going to be a lot of people who are like, oh, that's BS, and even some guy just now, I'm not sure how to say the name, but this is what they said, that the fake alien invasion that we win will take care of that fear. I mean, when you're talking about people,
Bluebeam, are you talking? Is it Bluebeam? Project Bluebeam? Is that you're referring to?
No, this person is it
Alcyon?
Under the belief, apparently, that there will be like a false flag battle with aliens.
I think they're talking about Bluebeam, Project Bluebeam.
Well, Bluebeam was technically something different, but
wasn't it holographic though? They could project holographic imagery wherever they wanted to. They could use it on battlefields or.
But my point is, well, no, not necessarily. These people are. My point is, when there are people who believe that sort of thing, you're never going to get through to them.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I'm just asking what they're referring to. This person, Alcyon.
Oh, by the way, Phoenix MUFON just joined, and they are the ones that John Alexander spoke to, and they allowed me to post that video. So thank you. And another video I posted is a video of an astronomer talking about Oumuamua. And he's talking about the mysteries, because this was that object that came in. Yeah. The first interstellar object we observed. Some were like, it's not the first. Well, the first one.
I heard it came from Hawaii. Just saying.
Yeah. I think that's its name kind of indicates that. But it's strange. And he kind of covers why it's weird. And that was another Phoenix MUFON talk, and they let me cover that too. But Cartola says he needs a house. I think you're in Canada. I'm not licensed in Canada, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions and to help people. Of course, I did real estate as well. So any questions you have or help, because I love my audience so much, please let me know and I'll do my best to help you out. Oh, Rodrigo says, I don't know if it's true, but I saw somewhere that UFO sightings went up 51% during lockdown. Here's the problem with that crappy data that comes in crappy. They were talking about Newfork. Newfork is one guy collecting reports in Washington. And I'm not, he's great, Peter Davenport. It's awesome what he does. But all he does is take these reports, put them on his website. They're not analyzed at all. There's only a handful of people that even know he exists. So my point is, it's not an accurate, number at all. For instance, I worked with MUFON for a long time, of course, and with Open Minds, crunched their data as much as I can. And it all correlates with popularity. So for instance, if they have a tweet that goes well, or they get mentioned in a TV show, those are the type of things that influence UFO reports rather than actual, increase in activity or mysterious phenomena. So that's the hard part about UFO reports. It's hard to glean any data or trends from what we have currently.
I'm just let's see. My phone, trying to find that picture of you and me and John Alexander.
Oh, you have one? Yeah. I hang out with John quite a bit. Somebody said, sawed off with Project Bluebeam, utter bunk. Bluebeam morphed from Second Coming of Christ into fake alien invasion. Yeah, I mean, just because there is a project where you can do projections, and so supposedly are, a lot of people have turned that into, in fact, the boss, the owner of Open Minds. Don't tell anybody I told you this.
Yeah.
But he thinks that 9/11 was holograms.
Oh, that's interesting. I think I've heard that. I think I've heard that too. Yeah.
He's one of a few people who have this belief. I think there are more people that believe in the flat earth than believe this particular idea. And it's not something that was, is completely fleshed out. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. There's so much better evidence for other things that have transpired. Yeah, than holograms. But hey,
well, these topics aren't too strange because these topics.
Did you freeze?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but
my image is just frozen. That's
good. He's a reptilian. There he is.
Oh man.
Oh, even better.
This crap camera. I'm using this camera we got from Amazon that sucks. So if you don't get this camera. Anyway, I was segueing into Fate Magazine because a lot of these topics, these weird topics and ideas we're talking about are covered in Fate Magazine. Tell us about today's what you're reading.
That's right. I almost forgot, folks, before we go any further down the rabbit hole here. Today, I am reading Fate Magazine. In fact, I'm always reading Fate Magazine, or I'm trying to at least. Folks, if you don't know what Fate is, again, much like Charles Fort, we probably wouldn't be here, or a lot of us anyways, if it wasn't for Fate's influence, whether you are hip to that or not, because this is pretty much the first magazine, paranormal magazine, to even touch upon the UFO subject. In fact, Kenneth Arnold wrote in his article on the first sighting in issue number 1, volume number 1 of the magazine. He wasn't interviewed. He actually wrote the article. So, hey, I'm all alone. Cue up the elevator music. Anyways,
I'm still here.
He's still here. He's like omnipresent. Can't get rid of this guy. But so Fate Magazine, folks, the oldest running since 1948 paranormal magazine, uninterrupted too. This is only a smatter rather of a few. Of Fate Magazine. But if you don't know Fate Magazine, I think you should. And the reason why I thought this would be relevant to talk about, well, not only because it covers the paranormal, but also because I think they deserve more attention. They're one of the few magazines that are still a print magazine. And I praise them for doing that. I also praise them for the digest size of the magazine. Much like a pocketbook, you can stick it in your back pocket, travels really well. But it's just a solid magazine. And again, longest running paranormal magazine ever. And I believe you know the owner of the current owner?
I do. And in fact, they are
Phyllis?
often, Phyllis, and she's usually a vendor at the International UFO Congress. I'm not sure if she is this year. I haven't been handling that. So,
I didn't see her.
You haven't seen them. They weren't there last year.
Oh.
And you know who usually runs the table is a good friend of mine, Rosemary Ann Guiley, who unfortunately passed away fairly recently. And that could be why that Phyllis has had trouble getting someone to man the table. But Phyllis, she's got multicolored hair, really cool lady in Minnesota. And well, I shouldn't feel bad about self-promoting because you're definitely an advocate of marketing. But I wrote an article, at least, if not, I don't remember how many articles I've got in Fate Magazine.
Oh, for Fate?
Yeah. The one I remember the most is my article on Yoda. They had a special Yoda issue, and I wrote an article about how in the future people are probably going to think we worshiped Yoda.
No doubt.
Yeah. And in a way, I do, in a sense, in that I don't necessarily worship, but I certainly subscribe to his philosophies.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's very Buddha-esque. And not only that, Klingon too. If they're digging up a pile of something or other and they find a language on Klingon, they might think that was a real language we spoke as well. Though, I mean, some of us do. But imagine this. That's what I'm. Again, this takes us back to ancient aliens and how they look at the ancient world. It's like, well, you can only get so much of a picture, and to understand that you have to think forward and like how are they going to look back at us, judging by what they find in our dumps and whatnot.
I think Rodrigo made a great point here. He said his point was just this: Baby Yoda.
Well,
and I agree.
That's really funny.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because years ago, I was at a protest like in 2001 in Washington,
D.C. A Baby Yoda protest?
Believe it or not, it wasn't actually. It was for the war or something. But my sign said, WWYD. And on the back it said, "Get it?"
What would Yoda do?
What would Yoda do? And like my friends saw me on C-SPAN. They were like, "We totally saw you standing there with a sign that said, 'Get it.'" It was just the other side of the sign that must have been holding it that point.
How
They're
funny.
like, what were you protesting?
That's
it was
hilarious.
what would Yoda do? Yeah. So that's all you have to say, Rodrigo.
Yoda was pure genius. I think, it's one of those things where you hear Baby Yoda and you think, duh, of course this is going to be the most amazing thing in the world. A Yoda, a cute baby. Talk about mind blowing. And
talk about marketing.
Rodrigo said, I know marketing, but this is the type of marketing that I cannot help. Like I have no resistance to.
Yeah, no, you don't.
A lot of people do. And so
a lot of people don't.
Says, I already worship Baby Yoda. And I think I'm there with you, dude.
Yeah. Whenever a show or a series is failing, they suddenly introduce a baby and all is well. Baby Yoda was a complete win. I mean, like that was taking two great tastes and combining them. So yeah, they knew what they were doing. Anyways, folks. So yeah, Fate magazine. I don't feel like they get enough attention anymore. And when in fact, I think we owe so much to them. So I just recently heard an interview. Phyllis was on the interview for a little bit, but it was another woman on Coast to Coast. In fact, they work with Coast to Coast. Coast to Coast releases an article by them, I think once a month, on their site. But they had an interview with her recently, a couple of weeks back, and I was like, I need to talk about Fate magazine because it's true. We need to get the word out there just to support them and she's been running the show, writes a lot of the articles herself for the last 20 years when she bought the company or bought the name. So I really, and again, the fact they're still in print, uninterrupted. Since 1948, here we go. We're going to be looking at some of the covers. That's the first one right there. And that's what you can see Kenneth Arnold's article is in issue number 1. Good luck trying to find that. There's one currently on eBay. But the first 10 years, I think, 48, first 12 years, we'll say, the covers were a lot like this. They're really, just beautiful paintings and whatnot that often portrayed the paranormal or UFOs. And then they get to the 60s where it was more, I don't think they had art like that anymore. I think it was just like wording. And then the 70s, they brought the art back. And now she's once again brought the art back. During the 90s, it was bought by Llewellyn in the 90s and publishing company. And they decided to change the size of the magazine. They made it a standard size magazine. And it lost some of its, I don't know, it lost something, its soul almost, when they started screwing with the size. They also started screwing with the font for Fate. It was a little weird. But yeah, Fate magazine started back in 1948 by Raymond Palmer, who also was the editor of Amazing Stories. And so looking at these covers, you can immediately see that connection. And some of the early topics they were covering, UFOs, straight up UFOs. They were the first to really cover that for the first few years. And then they started going more down the paranormal road, and dealing with hauntings and other paranormal events. And Richard Shaver, of course. See, if you're coming out of Amazing Stories like Raymond Palmer was, who was a huge Richard Shaver supporter, you're definitely going to get that in Fate magazine. So he had articles in there as well. And I don't know if you're familiar with Richard Shaver and his writings, but he was amazing. Talk about inner earth. He could hear voices coming from the center of the earth, from the Davos and the Navos and Narrows and all these different creatures.
I'm pretty sure I've made fun of you about being a fan of Richard Shaver before.
Yes,
you own a shaving company.
Well, yeah. Well, that was the thing. I actually wrote an article about that. Like, how could I not? Because growing up reading his stuff, it was like, how could I not go into the world I went into, the shaving world? It's not too much of a stretch because his middle name was Sharp, so Richard Sharp Shaver. It's like, of course,
Sharp Shaver.
Yeah, guy couldn't really write. He wrote. Oh, man, he definitely what punk rock is to music, Richard Shaver is to literature. His writings are really just wordy. You gotta, it's a lot like Lovecraft. And actually, Lovecraft was actually better, but Lovecraft gets a lot of credit for his literary genius, and I love his stories. I absolutely love H.P. Lovecraft, but I don't think he's the best writer in the world. And the same thing can be said for Richard Schaefer. Richard Schaefer is really, it's tough to get, you have to really stay focused. And in this day and age, it's tough to stay as focused as you need to for Richard Schaefer. And I think that's why he doesn't have as big as an audience as he should. But there's so much information there. And the gist of it is he believed all of it. So it's even more like potent in your hand. And so that's why I like Richard Schaefer. I really like the worlds he creates because he believes and he's seen them, you know?
Have you watched Lovecraft Country at all?
No.
It's really interesting. I've watched the first episode. But it's strange, but it's interesting in that it's from the perspective of this black family, I think in the 60s. Oh. And what's cool about that is you're always on edge because it's essentially, the trouble they have in the South, where you're afraid of getting killed. You're afraid of what you can do or say or go or talking back or anything because you could literally be killed. Oh, yeah. Now they do exaggerate a little bit and to add to the drama for the show. But it's just interesting that at least at the beginning of the show, all of the tension that is created before it gets weird, all of the tension that's created is in World War issues. So I think they're kind of playing with what's a monster type of thing. So it's really
that's the
kind of
HP element is that, but does it have anything to do with H.P. Lovecraft at all?
The main character is a big fan of Lovecraft.
Okay.
And essentially, I'm not completely sure where they're going with it, but I think that they encounter a lot of Lovecraftian creatures. So like what happens to them is similar to something that would happen in Lovecraft. I kind of feel like somehow maybe this guy is somehow like a sci-fi thing where his brain is manipulating reality and he's like really into and fantasizes about this Lovecraft stuff he reads about all the time.
Oh, that's so cool. What is the name of this?
It's called Lovecraft Country.
Oh, yeah. You've been holding out on me. I didn't hear about this. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, and I've kind of, to be honest, I've got a little bit of a crush on the main character, the girl.
What's his name?
No, her is Julia Smollett. And the reason I say that is like she's total badass. Like she is just super tough. Mm-hmm. And of course she is gorgeous, but it's really cool. I like the characters are really neat.
Very cool.
So I think I like the show. It's enigmatic, but I love enigmatic. So you never know where it's going to go. But that's how Dark was. That's how Lost was.
Slow burn.
I love that sort of thing.
Yeah. I just finished.
That's how Lodge 49 was, which we loved.
Yeah, that's why I gave you a little preparatory talk beforehand. Like, okay, this is gonna be a slow burn, but trust me, I could see us belonging to something like this. Intruders. Have you seen Intruders?
No, I haven't.
You will love this. Huh? You will absolutely love this. It's got the little girl in it from Stranger Things. This might have been her first role.
Oh, that's so funny. I think I've seen this, and I thought I've got to watch this. I ran across it somewhere.
It's good. It's a lot of British actors in it, in fact, but it takes place in the United States. I don't know how they did that, but it's an excellent show. I'm sure some of the people in the audience here have seen it. But Intruders, I'm always looking for good shows, folks. So and not your average show. It's a paranormal twist is always nice, but something I can really dig my teeth into. Not this mainstream crap. So if you guys ever have any good shows to offer us, we'll watch them and we'll talk about them on the show as we are now.
I'm excited about this new one that starts on Friday, where it's about NASA. In fact, I think this is the one I'm going to get to write about. Oh no, I'm writing about something else. But anyway, that's another cool NASA thing. I'll tell you all about it when I get a chance, or I don't think I can't yet. But this one that's starting on Friday on Netflix is about like people having to go there. We're having to send people to Mars for some reason to help save the planet. And it's this really risky trip. It looks really good. Let's see, Mars, NASA, Netflix. Cause I want to, maybe I'll even share a picture of you for you, everybody.
Oh, shucks.
So we can see what the show is. Boy, oh boy, do we get distracted.
Yeah, we do.
Come on, Netflix, don't let me down. But anyways, this is another show that I think looks really good. Of course, what comes up is anime, which I'm really into, and sometimes I get in trouble for with my honey. Why do you like watching these cartoons? And I'm like, cause. But I love anime. Anime, I think, offers up some of the best sci-fi, and they're not afraid to go over people's heads. You know, they're not afraid. They don't dumb it down like we do in America so much, I feel.
Yeah, I believe that. I'm not a huge fan of Japanese animation. I never have been.
You just
I grew
don't
up.
know what the right ones.
Last Unicorn really screwed me up in the head as a child, and it's the eyes. Those big eyes always freak me out. And it's like, and then the stills, like the guy's running and the background's moving behind him. Like, as a graphic artist, I never really got into that type of animation. Hanna-Barbera was as close as I got to that type of animation, and I didn't know at the time it was Japanese animation. I just knew it was different than other cartoons and illustrations. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it never really sat well with me. I mean,
Never really seen.
I love Japan. I love the people, but I don't really care for the animation that much.
Oh,
and there's nothing against you.
What is your
Really?
problem, dude? I am so.
I know.
No, but I found it. Let me show you guys. I can't believe we've kind of moved on to.
I know, and this is
Probably
why
can't
Fate
hear
magazine is losing.
You probably can't hear it. I don't think I pushed the button so you could hear it, but you could see the imagery. It's called Away.
Nope.
Hilary Swank is the main person there. So it looks cool, man.
It does.
I love space and crap, obviously. So
as long as it's good, like
it looks well shot. Look at
attention grabbing. What was that movie I just saw with Brad Pitt? The Astra might have been just Astra, which I think is
I didn't like it.
Greek for stars. I didn't either. It was talk about slow burn. I don't even think the fire ever lit. It's just the wick was burning when it just.
I agree with you. The fire never lit. It was
attached
just
to anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a lot to work with there, and it didn't.
It was a waste of that ensemble of actors, if you ask me. It could have been done really, really well. I mean, it had Donald Sutherland, right? Brad Pitt. I mean, just the cast alone was great. So you expected going in that you're going to see something mind blowing, and it really,
see Ad Astra yet again gets me. Anything by Miyazaki, that's right.
Where are you reading this? I can't see these things. Oh, Ad Astra is the name of this person.
Yeah.
Oh, they're having their own show over here on the side. Anyway, yes. So Fate magazine, people, and this is what I'm saying. I want to bring attention back to Fate magazine. If you can, subscribe to this magazine. And I know some people are like, oh, well, I want to save a tree. You can get the e-version of this as well if you're a Kindle reader. I personally like magazines. I like carrying them around with me. I think they wear better. And for their audience, Fate magazine has been in print for over 70 years. So their audience, some of these people are reading the magazine for 50 years. They don't have an iPad. They're not hip to that. Some of them don't even use computers. So I don't see anything wrong with them continuing to print in this format. And there's just something, again, like Richard Shaver felt about his articles that he was writing and his stories, like he believed them. There's something to be said about the aesthetic of print media. I mean, like, it's disappearing, folks. I think it's rather fitting that the longest running paranormal magazine in the world is still doing it, because now that's become a paranormal mode of media. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Are you looking at something else?
I was just responding to something in the
Oh, right
chat.
On. Not only were they printing paranormal, and what I liked about that, what Fate does is it's not like you have all the celebrity writers for the paranormal field and whatnot. There's a lot of like stuff like we have over here on the side column. You have people sending their own personal stories, and that's a large part of the magazine for the last 20 years, more than ever, I think. You have other people's stories, just everyday people off the street writing in their own personal stories. And I think those are pretty heavy-hitting and pretty strong. And you don't see that often in the paranormal magazines these days. They also do a great job at debunking stuff too, believe it or not. They were actually some of the first to, again, not only report on UFOs, but also debunk a lot of stuff like Amityville Horror. They had a couple articles on that. The Bermuda Triangle, Atlantis. They were just debunking different stories there. Yes. And so I know
to do that.
Yes. Oh yeah, Amityville. That was a big money grab. Did you ever do a deep dive into that?
I did back in the day. I can't remember details because it's been so long, but I did. Yeah, back when I was doing more ghost stuff.
Yeah, that was a big. That was to sell a book, and that movie screwed me up as a kid. Let me tell you, that and Last Unicorn. I'm telling you. So between Amityville Horror and Japanese animation, you get what you get, people.
Your brain
you're looking at this. You're looking at the product of these. Yeah, misfires.
So, can you tell us about something you've read in Fate recently?
In Fate, it's interesting because it comes out 6 times a year. It's bi-monthly. So, but something I've read recently for me is going back 6 months now because that was the last issue for me. But it was also the last time I'd probably been to the gym since the COVID thing hit. Like that's another thing I like about the magazines is I can bring them to the gym. I can throw them in my gym bag, beat them up, and I don't have to worry about it. You can't do that with a Kindle. You also can't bring a Kindle into a sauna. I think I've talked about that before. But with magazines or a book, I mean, like this first world problems. But I remember years ago going into a sauna at a gym with a paperback I was reading, and I'm turning the pages and just they're pulling right out. The glue was melting in the binding. So from then on, staple magazines is what I look for. So, okay, yes. Count Saint Germain. Do you know his story?
I've forgotten. I used to,
yeah.
But I can't remember anything at all right now.
A very mysterious character in history. In history, I just wanted to Spanish for a second. In history, and he comes and goes throughout history, just showing up in different places. To the point that people think he's immortal, maybe a vampire. There's lots of things have been given, or legends have been handed over to making Saint Germain the focal point or the cause of the event. But he just happens to show up throughout history in these different moments. But really well educated. And this is just a few pages long, but this is a breakdown of his character. And again, this is probably going back 6 months now, but a great article. So, I mean, that's one that I read and I love him. I've actually used him as a character. Saint Germain. I've used him as a character in some of my stories as well on my website, but.
The reason I mentioned it is because Jock of Ages had asked.
Oh, okay. I mean, there was also a poet too. I think from the 70s, Saint Germain. He went by the moniker Saint Germain, and it was published his book after his death by his parents. Little trivia for you. So it's kind of like the Necronomicon, how like that has become a literary device used by all different writers since H.P. Lovecraft. Same thing with this fellow, Saint Germain.
And I think
it's a mysterious character. Like giving yourself a name like Saint Germain is for those who know is saying this is a mysterious character that there's something going on here. There's something paranormal maybe. I'm sorry.
Isn't he has something to do with the legend of the Lemurians or something like that too?
Lemurians, yes, he's involved with that too. And actually, it's an Inner Earth thing that I was writing where I have him as a character in there. I haven't really announced who he is, but that's who the character is based on. And for anyone, he just can't remember who he is. In my character, anyways. So anyone who knows now going forward will immediately realize who it is. But yeah,
and is this one character. Of the narratives that you're writing for your shaving marketing?
It's part of the saga. Yeah.
That is so fun. So yeah, so people who aren't familiar, Doug kind of gives his products a backstory of sorts. And so, yeah, you can read the sagas that he puts together related to the products.
Yes. Yeah, if you want to start with the first one, you can check out Agartha, the Agartha trilogy. It's actually a soap trilogy. Yeah, I do soap trilogies. But Agartha, that's where the story pretty much begins. And you get introduced to a lot of different characters. And I'm one of the characters, obviously. And I look a lot like I do here, and I act a lot like I do here. So there's that. So I wonder if it's actually an autobiography. I don't know. Anyways, it's pretty cool. Agartha, check it out at phoenixshaving.com. But yeah, so thanks, man. I'm sorry. I digress.
No, I was doing a search, and I'll show people this. I was doing a search on your website for Agartha.
Oh, yeah. Just
because I wanted to kind of show people what you're talking about. But you even have some shirts and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Some boxer shorts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a whole story. Even a face mask. Click on that aftershave right there. The Agartha aftershave.
This one, or just this by itself?
That one's good. I'll get rid of that wheel. Yeah, click on that one.
Trilogy.
Yes. And so if you scroll down,
our story begins.
Yeah, I had to kind of put like little disclaimers just for people that just want to buy product because I was getting all types of noise. Like, I have to read this. I don't even know what it means. So yeah, I'm dealing with people who want a traditional shave. So a lot of them don't get what I'm doing. But for the few that do, if you scroll down, keep scrolling down. That's me just going on about something. But then I'm talking about Richard Sharp Shave. Yeah, he was the influence for pretty much this trilogy. And so it's just a little breakdown of that. But if you scroll down, keep going.
Hey, that looks
there it goes. And that's where it started. Yeah, now actually, yeah, this show, the thumbnail we use, that came from a photo shoot for this story. And yeah, I think this crowd will really, if you like H.P. Lovecraft and sci-fi, you'll really get into this saga. And so different products have a continuation of this ongoing saga. And it's a lot of fun. And it features me and Fran and Huxley, our dog, saving the world pretty much.
So there you go. So you can see which products you could get started. So there's this whole game you can play on the website to figure out the secrets of Agartha.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing with our products is always a backstory. There's things hidden in labels, a lot of allegory, secret codes, stuff you have to just to propel the story forward. But yeah. And I should say it's male grooming, not necessarily shaving. I can't say that while I'm wearing a beard before you all. Otherwise, it just comes off phony. But it's male grooming. We do beard stuff as well. So that's where I'm at. It's a COVID thing. Don't try to understand it.
That's fun. So, and I mean, would you say that your stories are influenced by Fate magazine?
Oh, hell yes. I mean, again, even before I was even conscious of that, anything else that was out there while I was growing up was inspired, whether even they knew it or not, by Fate magazine. I mean, they really piled it all into these monthly digests. Again, now they're bi-monthly. But, I mean, this is what you were picking up. This is the first X-Files. Back in 1948, this is, a few years after the war, months after the first sighting, this comes out. This is the first X-Files. Before you were watching a TV show, your favorite TV show on matters of ufology or paranormal, this is what it came in. This is the form it came in. So, yeah, you got to give it props. And we need to support it, is what it all comes down to. Oh, this is a good one too. The Flatwoods Monster. This one, actually, I believe Stacy, if she's here still, was handing this out at at the Congress, which is odd because I got it in the mail right before that happened. But so Phyllis must have given her a stack of free.
She did.
Magazine. I should say that too. If you are interested in getting Fate magazine, and I don't really have any connection to Fate magazine at all, you can contact them and get a free copy before you subscribe, just to see if you like it or not. And I believe it is fatemag.com. www.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Yeah,
and
they will send you a free one.
Yeah, that's what's really cool about her. She used to always bring a lot of free magazines. I'm looking for the camera that I had earlier. She always brings a lot of free magazines when she has a booth. And yeah, last year she couldn't be there, so she gave Stacy with Phoenix MUFON a bunch of books to give away.
Oh, that's so cool.
So Mary Grace Kirby just brought up a good point. Didn't soap operas start that way with marketing stories?
Yeah, I mean,
soap companies.
Soap companies were sponsoring the soap operas. Yeah. So there is
Procter
that.
and Gamble soap operas.
Procter & Gamble owns Gillette now and Art of Shaving. They did anyways. What's another interesting thing about Fate magazine, since they have the longest running magazine, paranormal magazine, you'd think they'd have this huge archive, and they did until it got destroyed. Like, I think it was 25 years ago. Flooding happened or rain came in. Something destructive happened in their archive, and they lost a lot of their early issues of Fate. So
really,
she's trying to restore that. People are donating older magazines. I've been looking online for some older ones. But yeah, and that's a damn shame. And imagine all of that. I mean, this stuff, you could put together libraries of books from, our compilations from these magazines that are still relevant today. I don't know. It's a sad part of the story. I'm just glad that she managed to pick it up when she did, because they were going to go out of business 20 years ago. They were going to shut the doors, and she said, "Sell it to me." And she was their editor like 10 years before that. And she left. So it was a fateful moment, if you will, that she just happened to be in contact with them at the time and said, "Sell it to me," once they were ready to sell it. But who better to give it over to than their old editor, and who's someone who's truly passionate about it. I mean, Phyllis is a really fascinating woman. She grew up in a haunted house, has all types of her stories of her own that are really very interesting when it comes to paranormal.
She's always telling me
experience.
new weird stories when I talk to her. In fact, it's been a while. I missed her. I might not have talked to her at all in the last year. And usually we talk at least every few months. Well, first of all, in relation with the Congress, but also other stuff. So yeah, she's really cool. Someone brought up a question here. Speaking of Gamble, of Procter & Gamble, he did a new age-ish doc called Thrive years ago.
Thrive.
Were you aware of that? Yeah, my buddy gave me a copy. I can't remember who put it together, but yeah.
Thrive.
Interesting stuff.
Is it like a post-humanism type thing? I mean, what is?
I can't even remember the details. I remember I was. Yeah, I don't even remember the details. I remember I was given it. My buddy was into it, and I was like, "Oh, interesting." So, I mean, it didn't really catch my attention, but that doesn't mean that it's not worthy of it. It just means that for whatever reason at that time, as usual, I was probably focused on something else. I get focused.
I'm sorry.
I just get so focused on whatever I'm doing at the moment that
that's good, man. Every moment's a peak experience, then, as we've talked about in the past.
Kind of is. I mean, every story is extremely exciting, and when I float that out there and get it out there, as long as I get, maybe a couple dozen likes on different social media platforms, I'm like, yeah, and then move on to the next thing.
Exactly. And that's what they say, retiring is for fools, because once you retire, then you just die.
I don't know how I could ever retire.
No, I don't either. I often think about that. Like, I know I could sit on a beach for a week, but after that, I got to start digging through the jungle and find something.
I mean, maybe if I got a lobotomy, but
those aren't cheap. Those aren't cheap.
It would take the removal of some gray matter for me to stop, I think.
Even then, have more gray matter than most of us.
Who does?
Mathematicians.
Oh,
people that do a lot of math, have more gray matter.
I could see that
in their frontal lobe. But yes, no, Procter & Gamble. I actually know the archivist from Procter & Gamble, since they own Gillette now. Well, they have for years, but they are fans of our other show. Actually, the CEO of Gillette watches our other show for the history that we do. But they've sent us prototypes of old vintage Gillette razors.
Oh, wow.
With this little, we've featured here and there. But interesting thing about them is they own Art of Shaving in the malls, which is a traditional shaving store, and then they own Gillette, which is a modern shaving store. So they own both horses. So if that tells you anything, if you own
hedge your bets, that's the way you do
exactly, and that's what they're doing as they see the rise and the return of traditional shaving, which is what we do. They're paying attention to what it all comes down to. But yeah, they own both horses in that race.
I know it used to be crush your competitor. Now it's identify as soon as you can who is your competitor, and scoop them up.
Yeah. No, that's what they do. Okay, what do we got going on over here? 25 years, that is. Try turning
a music hobby into a career. Trust me, you can retire from hobbies. Oh, so he turned his movie company or interest into a career. And I know people kind of get frustrated with me starting to charge now, and I have no qualms about it at all, people. So, because I'm charging for my Rojas reports, my interviews and stuff.
Right.
But I want to keep them coming, and I just can't keep them coming if I can't figure out a way to, especially at a time right now where things are a little tight. It's either I don't do it or do it, and I want to, but I've got to do it in this manner to keep it going. So, I mean, it's so cheap, $1.50, you can get access to all the audios of all my interviews and everything. So, and for maybe like $1 or so more on YouTube, you could become a member and you can watch everything I do on video. So if you're right here on Open Minds TV, join. It's not very expensive. You get access to all of my interviews. And I didn't even intend this when I started doing this, that I was going to get interviews with people nobody else can get interviews with. It's just been fortunate timing. But you're not going to see anybody else. Nobody else is getting interviews with some of these people who are former government officials that have worked on this UFO stuff, Brian Bender or some of these other media people. So there's a lot of very exclusive stuff there.
For $1.50 for exclusivity. I mean, come on, people. Come on.
Yeah. Come on.
For a cup of coffee a day, you can support this man in his mission.
So, yeah. And I'm not even trying to make it my primary career. That'd be nice if that happened, because I'd be able to really get out some great information on every day, concentrate on that, which I would love to. But, my other passion, I do like real estate. And so I am liking doing mortgages right now because it is something I can do safely from my home. And still help people out, because if you've bought a house, or sold a house, there's so many, unfortunately, not helpful people out there, like in real estate, that are supposed to help you out. So I'm happy to kind of help people through kind of these tough, stressful things that you have to deal with when you're doing that. And plus it is kind of a straight business transaction, at least the mortgage stuff. And of course, open minds, no middlemen, straight to the client, which I agree. I like that a lot. You're it's like that, home. You own your own business and you get to interact with the client in the manner in which you want to. And for me, I like to take care of customers. And I think that helps sell.
I love them. I love the newbies that reach out to me. Cause I remember that feeling that like, I kind of live vicariously through them when I'm talking to a noob. It gets me excited again. And I don't think there's anything like that. I've been to, conferences where people are up there talking, saying, don't get right back to your customer, make them wait, yada, yada, yada. Like you don't need, you're setting up this precedent and yada. And I'm like, no, man. I was like, why? That's horrible advice. If I can get back to someone in the moment, that's much easier to do than like have to set a timer when to get back to someone. It's like, no, I want to handle people the way I'd like to be handled. And so that's
better when you don't have to go through a marketing department.
Yeah, it's like no games. It's just like, who better to answer the question than the guy who's actually getting his hands dirty making the product? And
that's what's cool about you. That's what's crazy about you, because you even during the COVID days are not living too different than you normally do, because you're in your house marketing, but also responding to people constantly. Every time we go somewhere, you're responding to people.
I've done it on the show. While we've had our show, I answer questions sometimes in our chat.
Oh, you do, really?
Yeah, I can multitask.
Son of a.
I'm sorry, but you didn't know. I'm just being honest.
And we pay you so much to be here.
No, I know.
All right. Well, I guess that's about wrapping up. It seems like. Let's see. Did we miss anything? No middlemen is true bliss. I hope we get a Star Trek-like society. You know what's funny? Rodrigo says this. I hope we get a Star Trek-like society. Everyone would concentrate on their passions. I so agree. And when I was, a teenager with all that angst and watching Star Trek Next Generation, I wanted to go through that TV so badly to live. You want to be Wesley. I wanted to be little Wesley. And he did frustrate me a bit because he was kind of this little annoying brat, but it's smart kid. So was Luke. I liked him.
Luke Skywalker was also a little brat.
Oh, he was such a whiny.
R2, yeah.
He was such a whiner. He was annoying as a kid.
A gift economy, I think that is what that would be called, where your passion and what you do is what you add to the community around you. Like if your passion is baking bread, that's what you do, and you pass out bread. If your passion is playing guitar, that's what you do, and you're the town minstrel. I mean, you just gift people with what your gift is. So I think that's what
this is a good thing to end on too, because it is what you and I try to do, but it's also what Fate Magazine does, and Phyllis does. They're really invested in their own interests.
It's a labor of love, and you really get that. Really comes through in these magazines. So, folks, again, fatemag.com, www.fatemag.com, and subscribe. Reach out to them first, get a free issue. But I guarantee you're going to absolutely fall in love with this magazine. You're going to curl up in bed with it at night as you're falling. And it's dream fuel. This will really get you going. I don't know. I find paranormal stuff comforting for some reason or another. And if you do too, I highly suggest this classic. And that's what Doug has been reading this week and for the last few years.
Yep. Go check out their website. Email Phyllis. She's really cool. Loves to talk to people.
Tell her we sent you.
If you're going to be at a booth, or if you're going to go somewhere where she's got a booth like the Congress, check that out. Go see her because she's just a lot of fun. She's just she's very happy person, always smiling, and that colorful hair and everything. Really cool lady. So check out Fate. Big fan. Also, don't forget to check out the UFO Congress. In fact, Doug, I don't think we're going to be able to do a show next week because next week the Congress will be going on. I'm going to be focused on that.
Oh my God, is it next week already? I got to get signed up then. Okay, can you have Karen send me a direct link so I can get my booth together and get going on this?
Okay, I'll go tell her that right now.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. Well, to everybody else, go register at the Congress. Thank you for watching.
I'll see you at the Congress, folks.
Another show in a couple of weeks. Yep. If you miss us, then of course you can see me. I'm going to be up there on, like usual, introducing and being the MC at the UFO Congress. And what's cool about this year is by doing it online, essentially every lecture is just like what you and I are doing right now. So people can get in and interact and ask questions and make comments, communicate with each other like you guys do in here. So it's going to be kind of cool. In fact, we're planning on, if we can keep the Congress alive and keep doing it in the future, to integrate this and make this a part of the Congress going forward as well. Yeah. So people can online do that sort of thing while they're also, hopefully they're physically as well. So, and we've got so many fans from other countries, like, who sometimes can't make it out. So check out the UFO Congress. UFOcongress.com is where you're going to find that out. Of course, I'm pushing it hard, but again, it's the same kind of thing. If you want to see Fate Magazine, stay around, go subscribe. Yeah. If you want the Congress to continue, go register. It's not like it's a whole bunch of money.
If you appreciate what they're doing, folks, support them. Otherwise, they disappear and we go back to mediocrity.
And it's not like any of us are asking for donations or anything. We're just asking you to pay fair prices for content and information that
it's an exchange.
You're going to love, because people love all of this stuff. People aren't complaining. I don't complain about my Fate Magazine. I love it. And, people don't complain at the Congress, or usually when they subscribe to my stuff, because they love it. We're giving you what you want. So,
obrigado, Rodrigo. Obrigado.
Oh, Portugal.
I know all the
Yay,
slaves.
Portugal.
Portugal.
Did you just cuss at him?
No, but I could if I wanted to. All my friends, my best friend is Portuguese as well, but all my friends growing up were Portuguese. Jesus. Anyways, we got to get going. But the next book we're going to be looking at is a book called The Holy Place on René Lacheteau. So that's coming up in a couple weeks. Until next time, but next week we'll be seeing you at the UFO Congress. I'm Douglas Smythe.
We'll be back on this show in a couple weeks.
Yes, we will. And that's what we'll be looking at that book. I'm Douglas Smythe from PhoenixShaving.com. And with me, as always, Alejandro Rojas from OpenMinds.tv. And we'll catch you later. Is that good?